with your dad. How many others do you see living in parks, living in tents, doing it rough like you are?
I see heaps of people doing it rough, and majority of the people I see doing it rough in parks is actually teenagers.
Right. And many of them don't have a dad with them. They're just by themselves.
Yes, that is correct, Koshi.
What help do you need right now?
We have been looking, putting our name down for houses. It's just been too expensive to rent, and we just would like help trying to get a house, or a roof over our head.
Caleb, great to mention Emmanuel City Mission. Organisations like that do a great job. Mate, we really appreciate you telling your story. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Let's bring in Jen Williams from the Property Council, who attended Queensland's Housing Round Table yesterday. Jen, we talk about statistics all the time. Caleb is the human face of those statistics, camping with his dad. Is there a short-term solution to this crisis?
Good morning, Koshi. So yesterday we had the Housing Roundtable with the government, as you mentioned, and the conversation there was really about there are both support measures and supply measures, and there's the very immediate people like Caleb, and then there's the short, medium and long term about how do we actually get more houses across the board to make sure that we don't ever find ourselves in this situation again.
Okay, so the short-term measure that's being put forward is to get hotel space, if you like, or motel space as a quick fix. Is that right?
Yeah, the Premier yesterday announced that she would double her investment in those quick-term fixes, and so that was about hotels and motels. It was also about rental assistance. So, you know, as Caleb mentioned, the affordability is a real problem with people being squeezed out of the market, so helping to bridge that gap for some people, and also for things like food as well, the basics, so that people can afford to pay their rent too. Okay,
these tax breaks, how will they help in the long term to actually build more rental property?
So one of the things in Australia is that we're very reliant on mum and dad landlords. About 90% of our rental stock is just mums and dads. So these tax breaks, not really tax breaks, as a change to the tax settings, will actually allow institutional investors to deliver rental accommodation, and that's purpose-built rental accommodation that will always be there as rental accommodation. Okay. The Treasurer yesterday talked about the number of houses being taken out of the rental market being a huge factor in this as well. So this will make sure that people can invest in rental accommodation that's there for good.
Is that by Airbnb? They've been taken out of the rental market?
There's a whole range of reasons. So the housing market, as you would be aware, prices have gone up significantly. So a lot of investors sold out, and they sold to people who are owner-occupiers. So I'm not sure of the extent of Airbnb. Right. I think in coastal areas it's more of an issue. But across the board there are less mums and dads investing in rental properties and putting them on the market.
Big issue, big long-term issue. Jen, thanks for joining us. Here's that.
Thanks, Koshi. Severe weather is hitting the east coast. Southeast Queensland is set to cop a drenching today with warnings of heavy rain, flash flooding, damaging winds and also large hail. It's wet in Sydney and Melbourne too, with up to 7 days of rain forecast. Meteorologist Tony Auden is in the Weather Centre. Morning to you. Rain, storms affecting large parts of New South Wales and Victoria. So which areas can expect the biggest falls, Tony?
Good morning, Nat. Yes, as you've mentioned, those storms across a large area overnight. We've seen them firing away very early. This is the current state of play on the radar. Storms stretching from eastern Victoria, mostly through the south of the state. Probably just a few showers for Sydney at the moment and another cluster of rain and storms in the north. We do have warnings current very early in the day here as well from those northern parts of Victoria into around Wagga and Griffith and areas north of Tamworth. Heavy rain, damaging winds on the current warnings, but there is more on the way. Expect more thunderstorms to fire away pretty much over the entire eastern part of New South Wales. Severe storms possible in Sydney this afternoon. Then it should all clear later in the day. A slight easing trend tomorrow, Nat, before, well, potentially another significant band of storms and even rain into next week as well.
OK, let's go north on that map. Southeast Queensland also on storm watch today.
Yes, that's right. The old adage goes, well, red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning, and this was the view over Brisbane a short time ago. I think that's a pretty safe warning there. So no surprise, we do have some storms on the way if you follow that old rule. At the moment, some weaker storms over the Darling Downs off the tail end of that New South Wales activity, but we are expecting it to really pick up later in the day. A round of potentially severe storms into the afternoon across the southeast, then potentially one, even two more rounds overnight and early tomorrow before that main activity contracts from the Sunshine Coast further north by tomorrow afternoon. Here is that storm potential, the energy available in the atmosphere to feed those thunderstorms. Red shades here showing there's a lot of juice, that heat and humidity feeding that potential for severe storms today. Nat?
OK, thank you, Tony. Here's Koshi.
Now, doctors and pharmacists are concerned after revelations that some online health companies are advertising prescription weight loss drugs without needing to see a GP. Instead, consumers are given an online quiz which is supposedly reviewed by a doctor. It comes as weight loss drugs like a Ozempic and the more readily available Ozempic skyrocket in popularity following celebrity endorsements. Joining me now, Sunrise GP Dr Jenny Mansberg. Jenny, this sounds like a recipe for disaster. What do you think of these weight loss injections being prescribed without a doctor?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some advantages. It can be really hard to get into your doctor. If you do get into your doctor, a lot of them will say, I don't want to give you this sort of stuff. Right. So it is an option. Having said all of which, we know for Australians, our own research tells us that sticking to the one GP is best for your outcomes. Number two, who is verifying that you are the weight that you say you are in the quiz? It could be a recipe for people with eating disorders to get their hands on these things, like we've been seeing in London Fashion Week and the Oscars. That's exactly what we don't want happening.
Wow. Because we're so used to telehealth now, aren't we? That we think, oh, it may not be our own GP. This is the drug company's GP.
Yeah, it's definitely not owned by the drug company. And if you go on their website, they don't actually name any drugs. So that's the interesting thing. But they are promising a lot and almost implying that it's an alternative to diet and exercise, which is definitely not.
Because you can't advertise prescription medicines by law here in Australia. Is that how they're getting around it, is it?
Yeah.
They're not mentioning them by name, just giving the impression.
Correct. So they're just saying, oh, it's an injection that you give yourself. We all know what it is, but they don't name the drug and they don't sort of make claims that this is the best drug. You're not allowed to do that here. Right. But they just say, this is the program that we have, and we couple it with, you know, consultations with doctors that you can have any time you want. But if you don't want them and you just want to do that quiz, that's fine too. OK,
so these weight loss drugs are relatively new in Australia. Are they taking off? How popular? Are we following what Instagrammers and Hollywood are leading us to do?
Absolutely.
We are. You're noticing it in your practice?
Ridiculous. And so there are huge numbers of people to the point where it's like all sold out. It's really difficult to get some of these drugs. And we've got to remember that, you know, for the 60% of Australians that are, you know, overweight or obese, our bodies are programmed to make us survive a famine. So we're programmed to scavenge every calorie and turn it into fat, and we don't burn it in this society that well either. And it's not as easy as diet and exercise. We tend to shame people who are overweight and obese, saying you're just too lazy to follow a diet. These medications can have a place, particularly because it's a health issue. Being obese puts you at risk of a number of health problems, and we don't want to be fat shaming people at the same time implying that these drugs are instead of diet and exercise. That is wrong. It's never, ever going to be easy street. It's never going to be just pop this pill or take that injection and don't worry about it.
Judy, we want a silver bullet.
I know.
Don't be a Debbie Downer.
I know, so sorry.
I know. It is common sense, but the marketing messages are pretty powerful, sucking people in. That's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really taking advantage of vulnerable people who their concern is what they look like in a bikini. My concern is don't have a heart attack, don't get cancer.
Yeah, good point. Jenny, thanks for joining us. Here's Nat.
Well, still to come this morning on Sunrise, what Aussie teens are really doing on their phones.
Here's 3 things you didn't know your kids were doing on their phones.
We use FaceTime instead of call.
We never use full words.
And filters of the catfishing.
We are decoding it all, what parents need to know. It's a Sunrise investigation. Prince Harry returns to court over the phone hacking scandal. He's made some damning new allegations against Buckingham Palace. The fallout soon. And one of Australia's most loved actors, Toni Collette, is on Sunrise. All that and more just ahead. We're back in a moment.
Okay, guys, but we don't want any trouble. When tragedy strikes, what's more important?
He needs family by his side.
Get out of my way so I can do my job. It's a murder investigation.
You're too close to this. You need to step back.
I'm doing this for my brother. I want to get this guy.
How far would you go?
Go, go. So what's the problem?
I just don't think you're who I thought you were.
Home and Away, this week on 7 and 7+.
Invest with La Trobe Financial, Australia's multi-award-winning wealth manager, returning a current variable rate of 5.65% per annum, reviewed monthly on a 12-month investment. Trusted by Australians for 7 decades.
Take racing to the next level with a same race multi. Select 2 to 4 runners to finish inside the top 4 in the same race. The more runners in your bet, the bigger the odds. Take it to the next level. You win some, you lose more.
Our McCafe blend isn't just barista crafted across Australia. Our beans are also sourced from Kenya, Honduras, Ethiopia and Brazil, then roasted in Melbourne. Just another reason it's coffee fit for an Aussie.
Craft Decor's hot summer sale is on now. There's timber looks, large formats, subways, cement look, marble looks, hybrid flooring and more. Craft Decor, best tiles, best prices. Cannington, Joondalup, Mandurah, Osborne Park and South Fremantle.
We love our holiday house and the extra income we get by sharing it as a holiday rental.
We enjoy welcoming guests and they always comment on the way our property is presented.
Terry Shear provides cover for theft, damage by tenants and loss of rental income.
Terry Shear Holiday Rental Landlord Insurance.
We wouldn't rent our property without it.
Get a quote today. Call Terry Shear or go online.
Psst, Frank. Oh, here we go. Let's be frank about car services. Most of them make you feel like a bit of a dipstick. But at Midas, we're different, with transparent pricing and a straight-up rundown of any repairs. Tread's a bit worn, just needs a rotation. Bulbs blown? Ah, easy fix. That? Oh, well, that's just a bit of dirt. Dirt! Yeah, I'm not a chamois, Gavin. Midas, you can rely on us.
So much love, I'm feeling it, so much love. Don't you know, you've made my dream come true.
Let us introduce you to your new tailor-made wardrobe. Custom clothing you'll love too much.
So much love.
Listen to your body. Is it telling you it's time to quit?
Ollie? Ollie, dinner.
Make family time count with a break from the internet with Optus Pause. Be part of the living network. It starts with yes.
If it's happening in Perth, you'll be the first to know. Sunrise, live and local. Kate live for us in our northern suburbs.
Matt, good morning.
Hopefully those guys are long gone.
Good morning, Matt.
Em live for us in Broome.
We'll take you out with a message to Harry.
Be the first to know with Sunrise.
Turn the heat up, gonna make your glasses steam. Tell me what you gonna do.
Welcome back to Sunrise. More WA news now.
Matt Teddy has the latest live and local from our Perth Television Centre. Morning, Matt.
Morning, Koshi and Nat. Good morning, everybody. Big change for our health system. Sick aged care residents will be consulted on the phone before an ambulance is called in a major shift in our 000 call system. It's designed to free up emergency departments and slash ramping hours this winter. The new system will initially operate across Perth's northern and eastern suburbs. The Health Minister says half of WA's ramping hours come from patients